Yo, what up, Street Talks? Eric Kim. Alright, the thought. This one is regarding the future of living. So this is something that's actually quite interesting to me because... Yo, what up, Street Talks? Eric Kim. Alright, this is regarding the future of living, and I'll tell you why this is so interesting to me. So, I think we all kind of want to move to these like luxury places or buy a big ass house because we think that the domicile or the house or the home we live in is going to augment our happiness. I think that's the goal. Because, a lot of people, they think it's like, oh, I think a lot of people are like, oh, having a big house is like virtue signaling. Yes, but I think the real end goal is we think that having a house or whatever, X, Y, and Z is going to augment our happiness. So the question is, does our home or whatever actually augment our happiness? Yes, yes and no, and if so, how not so? So just some turbo thoughts. So one of the thoughts I have is kind of first and foremost, there's a hierarchy of living situations, right? So like basic things is if you live in a situation where you live in a situation where you kind of so like for me a lot of it first is cleanliness and hygiene. It's actually really important. So I had the very huge misfortune of staying at an Airbnb and I was in Mexico City. The photos looked fantastic, but in fact it was an old place and it was just so dusty and I couldn't even sleep. It was like the most horrible experience of my life because the dustiness was just like I literally couldn't breathe, and I have pretty bad allergies, so that wasn't so good. So cleanliness and hygiene is important, and it does seem like the benefit of living into these newer luxury apartments or lofts or whatever is they tend to have been built earlier, which not always true, but typically that means they're just more hygienic. I think the big issue, especially here on the East Coast or some countries, even in Kyoto and stuff like that, there's lots of issues with mold because, if there's poor ventilation or if there's lack of airflow or the places are old or it's kind of in places where it's hot, humid, and rainy, mold tends to collect. And the downside of mold obviously is that kind of ruins your life because it's actually legitimately bad for your health. So first and foremost, basic stuff, mold, cleanliness, hygiene, and stuff like that. So, okay, so continuing. Then it's also important that, in real estate they often say location, location, location. I think that is true, but even more important than that maybe is quiet, quiet, quiet. Like, one of the biggest downsides of living in a city or a place where it's too loud. Apparently humans were good at adapting to almost everything except really loud noises. And I've actually read that apparently the big problem living in the hood or living in a bad neighborhood is if you hear gunshots going off all the time or speed racers driving on by, you just can't sleep. And as a kid, you need to sleep well in order to recover and to augment your memories. And apparently a lot of the science about sleep research is that sleep is an essential part of memory formation. And actually, the ancient Greeks actually thought that intelligence and memory was the same thing. So now in today's world where you don't gotta remember none because of Google, I wonder if we're actually becoming less intelligent is one of my theories. But anyways, so what are we to do about that? So living in a place that's quiet, it seems to be really important. And you know, I'm all for natural light and stuff like that. That's also something I value highly. But I think if you have, like, sometimes there's third options, but let's say you had the option of being in a place that has no natural light but is quiet, or a place with lots of great natural light but is loud. Always choose the place that is quiet, because if you want natural light, you could just leave your house and leave your apartment. But when it comes to noise, you cannot really cancel out the noise. I mean, I personally use headphones, or not headphones, earplugs. I like the Heroes brand on Amazon, HEAROSEOES. Just like the blue colored ones, they seem to work pretty good. But man, I'm starting to think that truly, the greatest blessing in human life is just a good night's sleep. You know, people are now spending hella money on these sleep trackers and the watches and stuff like that. I found that a via negativa approach is best to get sleep. So, you know, don't have coffee or caffeine after dinner. Seems like a pretty easy one. You know, just after dinner, just don't look at screens or check email or do none of that BS. Also, contrary to popular belief, I think actually watching Netflix or YouTube or videos and movies and stuff like that in the evening is the worst idea, because you see all this movement and audiovisual stimulation, that shit keeps you up. It's actually probably more effective to watch movies or videos in the middle of the day to actually act as a visual stimulus to get you moving, rather than watching it late at night where you just can't sleep. So that's an issue. Also, I think another huge thing is actually changing the culture. So like now at night, I try to close the blinds and pull out the bed at around like 7:30ish. And you know, I was studying Tom Brady, this guy is a G, like, well, he's like in his mid 40s, like what, 44 or something now. The guy drinks no caffeine, gets into bed every day at like 7:30, and wakes up at like 6. So he probably sleeps like, what, 10-12 hours a night. But for so Tom Brady does it good, right? So maybe what makes us that different from elite athletes? I think we should actually maybe adopt a similar mindset where you should pursue your life in accordance where the sweet Jeep. Pursue your life in accordance with where you prize your sleep, your wakefulness, your energies above all. Sweet Corvette. Ooh. Oh man, it's automatic. Auto tragic, as they say in some places. So anyways, I think it's just it's really important for us to, you know, optimize our lives for better sleep, optimize our life for less noisiness, and also simple pro tip: don't live nowhere that actually has construction around you. And I've also found that if you have the option of having a minimalist luxury apartment, I think this is actually a really good option. So the upside of having a minimalist luxury apartment is typically the square footage is much smaller, but if you could opt for smaller square footage but higher quality or hygiene, so the huge benefit of having a place that's a luxury apartment that's much smaller in size but higher in quality is that, you know, it simplifies your life. It actually does legitimately improve your life. So for example, I found it hugely beneficial to live in a minimalist apartment that has a fucking washer and dryer and stuff. Oh my god, this made my life so much better. If that's also another thing I could optimize for, try to get an apartment with a washer and dryer, and this will allow you to not fucking plan a whole Saturday to just get quarters and go to no stupid laundry machine and having to wait for that. So that seems hugely beneficial. And I don't know, like based on my experiences too, I'm trying to think the whole home ownership thing is a scam, you know, invented by the banks and the real estate companies and the universities, higher ed, education, politicians, whatever, to get people to take out ridiculous loans to have you forever become a serf or indentured servant to the land, raise property values, and continue the scheme, which is, you know, politicians who are also real estate developers or venture capitalists get into office, give favorable tax write-offs or benefits to companies, which is pro-capitalism and business, and or just kind of collect a nice, you know, speaking fees after they're out of office, whatever it may be. But anyways, so what is we to do about it? Then, so this is also a friend tip from my friend Todd. So another pro tip from my friend Todd Hatta, TODD space HATA, search him on YouTube. So better to choose the cheapest luxury thing than the most expensive basic thing. So for example, if you want the best quality, buy the cheapest Tesla, buy a used Tesla, go on Craigslist or even go to the Tesla website, then buy the most expensive Toyota Camry. Seems like makes sense. Or, you know, we all know Lexus is owned by Toyota, or just buying the cheapest Lexus, the cheapest used Lexus you can buy, seems like the best option. Or even if you want to buy Apple products, the best deal to get is buy a refurbished iPhone or a refurbished MacBook Pro maxed out rather than buying the most expensive PC. So it seems like to be or even if you want the best lens, probably buy the best, you know, used Leica M lens than to buy the brand newest Canon lens, whatever it may be. But anyways, so, and also this could also probably work well with digital cameras. Better to buy a used Leica M9 and the best used Leica M lens than to buy brand new Leicas, or even to buy the brand newest. Yeah, so going back to the thought at hand. So yeah, then also it seems like it makes more sense to you know, buy the cheapest used Leica with the cheapest used Leica M lens and buy the brand newest Fuji camera or whatever. Or like if you wanted to buy a Porsche or something like that, just get a used 911 on Craigslist. The funny thing is with luxury goods, most people who own the luxury goods tend to baby them. So even in my experiences, like even shout out to my homeboy Bellamy Hunt, JapanCameraHunter.com, getting my used Leica MP film one, you know, it was essentially mint from the old user, some Japanese dude, right? And even the like the Summicron lens, 35mm f2, a spherical. Shout out to my friend Todd Hatta for helping me get it. So yeah, just in praise for getting used things, getting praise of getting used luxury goods is probably a better deal than buying new whatever stuff.